Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome, one and all, to episode 6 of The Adventure Continues, a Star Trek discussion, a show where we take a specific episode or specific movie, and we not only discuss the episode, but we also watch the episode as we are discussing it. And in a lot of cases, when there is a special guest on the show, the special guest has the opportunity to select their specific episode from the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, or Enterprise, or even a movie. Of course, if it's ever a movie, I do try to let the guests know that I may invite other guests to discuss it, as we did with what was Star Trek The Next Generation's pilot episode a couple of weeks ago, where we had Anonymous, DJ Roddenberry, and of course tonight's guest, Baron Orman Tagge. And that was a lot of fun. But tonight, Baron Orman Tagge, you know him as a co-host of 540 Studios, The Beyond, and also Pacific 4 and 4 Pop Talk, has selected the episode The Doomsday Machine from the second season of the original series. Now, this is an episode where, a lot of people have dubbed it a fan favorite, and it's an excellent episode. You meet Commodore Deckard, and you find out what happened to his starship because of this device. And you see what the crew of the Enterprise, along with Captain James T. Kirk, have to do to survive this device of ultimate destruction. And of course, you know, anytime I get a chance to watch this episode, I will say for myself, and we'll find out from Baron here shortly, but I never get tired of watching this. I never get tired of watching good Star Trek. And that's the primary reason why I am doing this bi-weekly stream of The Adventure Continues, the Star Trek discussion, is to showcase good Star Trek. And, every guest that comes on in the future will have an episode that they consider what is good Star Trek, or, what really emphasizes what Star Trek is all about. And even in this episode, it emphasizes what Star Trek is all about, especially when it comes to the original series. But enough of my rambling. I'm going to go ahead and beam in tonight's guest. As I've said, you know him as a co host of 540 Studios, The Beyond, and also Pacific 4 and 4 Pop Talk. Please welcome in, or beam in, Baron Orman Tagge. Transporter room. Initiate transport. Welcome aboard, Lieutenant. Or is it Commodore now? Baron? Baron, are you there? Uh-oh, folks. We might be getting some interference. There's some possible interference, and I'm going to check the sensors. Yep, definitely some interference.
Well,
Looks like
first of all, thank you, Snotty, for beaming me in, and for some reason, StreamYard switched my microphone.
might have to get our chief engineer down to the subspace relay and see what's going on. And also checked Pipcoms as well. But Baron, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm not doing so bad. Not bad at all. I think there might be a tribble in the conduit somewhere. So that's probably what caused it. But yeah, doing great. Looking forward to it. I was looking forward to this for quite some time now. This episode, I was just banging it through my head when first asked. And, the two episodes that came to mind, I don't want to go with the obvious ones out there. But it was this or The Ultimate Computer, this one out. Yeah, which I think both are great episodes of Star Trek. Of course, this one has some great acting in it. A great guest star, William Wyndham.
Mhm.
Or I think his nickname was Weepy Wyndham because he was known for having his little breakdowns, in the acting circles. So if you need someone to do a breakdown, just call William Wyndham.
Well, I mean, as far as the breakdown is concerned, when you see, Commodore Decker breaking down, I think he was the perfect person for the part.
Yeah, yeah, he did it well. He did it well. And as you watch this episode, you can see how ambitious this was for its day, because there's a lot of special effects in this episode, a
Mhm.
lot, in model making for that matter too.
Yes.
So I guess that was one of the things that always drew me to this episode is how much extra work they did for this, and it didn't disappoint. It didn't.
No, no, and it still doesn't disappoint. You know, one thing that's perfectly clear is just the effort they put into doing the special effects for this episode. I mean, this is 1966, 1967, Bear,
Yep.
and all the effort they put into this.
Mhm. Exactly. And you just um that's why I was always in awe when I first saw this episode. It's like, whoa, this is a little different than we're used to seeing in Star Trek.
Hmm.
This is this is one of those that Star Trek always made you kind of feel like they were out there by themselves, and all of a sudden now they're coming across one of their sister ships, but it didn't turn out well.
No, and you'll see that in this episode. And speaking of this episode, it's not going to be the HD version of the episode. It's going to be its original format
Yay!
of this episode. And, you know, I'm going to try to do that as much as I can to make sure that the original series episodes are in their original format. But if I can't get it done for some reason, then it probably will be the HD version. But my preference will always be the original effects
Yeah.
because that's how it was for the show. It wasn't
Mhm.
meant to look fancy, n- pristine, and clean. It's the 1960s. They had a small budget. They did what they could. And even seeing the intro reel that keeps playing on the loop in the background, I think they did a remarkable job, especially for the technology of the time.
Right. And that's from that is from the pilot. I mean, uh not the first pilot, but the second one, because you can tell by the dome and all that, and the size of the
Hmm.
sensor. So you're talking about one of the earliest special effects they had for the show, right there.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't clicked onto the Cosme link over on the YouTube and Rommel side, please do. I did put the link underneath the original post about tonight's show over on X. I'm going ahead and put it into the chat right here at the moment. So if you'd like to watch along with us, you're more than welcome to. The more the merrier. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and disembark.
This is NBC.
Oh, that's what you would have heard when this episode
Yep.
aired.
Hmm. I always like this communication officer.
Hmm. One of the few episodes you don't see Nichelle Nichols,
Right.
but you also don't see Walter Koenig in this episode either.
No. Ghostly. Ghostly Rumble.
Hmm. And I'll be honest, this is one of those episodes that firmly established Spock as one of my favorite characters.
Hmm.
And you'll see why as the episode goes on.
Hmm. And there's a rare scene of him walking in front of the view screen.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think some of the direction and how they set up shots is different in this episode than a lot of others. So,
But different but effective.
yeah, very effective. Of course, the great wraparound he's wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just imagine seeing this for the first time,
Yeah.
and you see another Enterprise style starship.
Yeah. Because for the original series, there are only 12 Constitution class starships,
Hmm.
and that includes the Enterprise.
Hmm. A bit grainy in that one.
Yeah, it is, but again,
Hmm. Yeah. Well, it's because all the years and all that. They should have done a
mhm,
good job trying to make these episodes look good. You know.
they should have, but they were more concerned about the remaster and the high definition.
Hmm. One of the things I like about that pass through on the Enterprise,
Mhm.
if you look in the secondary hall, one
Yeah.
of the lights go out, like someone turned off the lights and we're gone. You know, okay, I'm done here. Time to go.
Well, maybe when they were filming, it was just easier to do it that way.
Mhm. I think they just had a short, to be honest, but
It could be.
it,
I mean, again,
but
there's snafus.
yeah, and they work. They work. They're beautiful. I mean, I thought it gave a sense of realism.
Hmm.
And there she is, the
Yep.
constellation.
Unlike the Enterprise, which was 1701, the constellation is 1017.
Hmm. And really, the first time we really ever saw a battle damaged ship in Star Trek.
Hmm.
Of course, that was just one of the AMT models they took off the shelf.
And it's good to see True Rock Creations is here tonight. Won't be able to watch because work, but I'll listen to you guys. Well, I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate Tim for being here, and also Lady Miss being here tonight.
Hi, hi, everybody.
Hope you're all doing well this Monday night.
You think there's no other vessels in the area,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, wow! Just seeing that for the first time, it's like, oh, no, who'd have
What?
thunk?
Yeah. What did that ship go through?
Hmm. Snotty.
Scotty.
I keep on thinking of Spaceballs.
I appreciate that, Padawan. I hope you're doing well tonight, brother.
Of course, making sure the inside looks damaged.
Mm-hmm. Something that other Star Trek series have done. They fall through, and
Hmm.
of course, the damage control team with their various equipment.
Hmm.
It is nice to see the effort that they put in to redress the set to make it look like it's been through some sort of battle.
Yeah.
And of course, Scotty has to have a look at the engines.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a good engineer does. Well, we're
It
going to
kind of
find out
sounds
what
like
happened.
Mercury and Venus.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Which, of course, that name would come back and haunt Star Trek with his son in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And there he is,
Mm-hmm.
William Wyndham.
I think he's excellent in this episode. Like I said in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's excellent as far as the casting is concerned for Decker. And
Mm-hmm. He is.
yeah, I mean, look at him. He's in a state of shock.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the different Starship badge.
Mm-hmm. Which is something they had in the original series.
Mm-hmm. Not the first time you saw it, though. The first time was in Charlie X when the Antari
Mm-hmm.
scheme.
Yep.
Yeah, leave your melodrama down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, solar systems, plural. Plural.
Mm-hmm. It's true. The captain is supposed to be the last off the ship,
Mm-hmm.
and in some cases, go down with the ship.
That's
Excellent acting there.
mm-hmm. It is. Don't you know I know that?
Don't you think I know that? There was, but not anymore.
No, it's kind of interesting that that ship took so much damage and he was still able to get all the crew down, and they didn't have
Mm-hmm.
any.
Just before the transporter went out.
Mm-hmm. It's episodes like this too that helped influence a lot of the fandom stuff, like Franz Joseph, where he had the emergency transporters. 22-man transporters,
Mm-hmm.
three of them, at least three of them. There might have been one other one on the secondary, but
I mean, this episode inspired me when I was writing my Star Trek fan fiction to make sure that the ship that was the center of my stories had the emergency transporter system.
Hmm. Or even with the Faz's role playing game. I mean, it really is the first time we really saw another captain of a starship.
And again, if you're just coming in, the Cosme link is pinned to the top of the chat on YouTube and Rumble, and you can find it in the comment section below the original post about tonight's stream over on X.
Anti-proton.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how Peter David extended this lore that they made the Doomsday machine into a Borg killer.
Mm-hmm.
That's how she's designed to do.
That would have been a neat thing to see in Voyager if they came across the Doomsday machine and it was attacking Borg
Yeah.
cubes.
Yeah.
And of course, if I were Captain Janeway, I'd say, we'll just leave the Doomsday machine at the Borg to their business. We're getting out of here.
Hmm. That's interesting that Spock made note in there that she came from outside the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. And that's because they're reviewing the sensor logs from the constellation,
Yep.
which the Stargazer, which was Captain Picard's ship before the Enterprise, was a Constellation class.
Yep. Of
Hey, DJ, how are you doing tonight, brother?
hey, nerd. Good to see you, DJ Ben.
He says he's on his half-damaged phone, but I'm here to go talk about Star Trek. DJ, did your phone encounter the Doomsday machine?
Yes, it's Dead Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Come on,
But
man, leave.
mhm.
There's nothing to save here.
It's a lot to take in.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact you have a Commodore in charge of a ship. Ah, Lieutenant Kyle.
Yeah, it would have, Tim. It's a lost opportunity.
Very much so.
I'm not saying the Doomsday machine should have come from the Delta Quadrant. No, I'm just saying, and then with Peter David having the Doomsday machine be an anti-Borg weapon, it would have been interesting to see on Voyager.
See, and I love this design better than the remaster
Mm-hmm.
one.
I mean, look at all the detail they put in this original model.
Yeah.
And see, notice how they're not called warp nacelles; they're called power nacelles.
Mm-hmm.
And good evening to you, Fabric Folds. Fabric Fold says Jerry Ryan's bra was an anti-Borg weapon. I'll go ahead and bring that up, Tim. Appreciate you for finding that, man.
Mm-hmm. Of course, AMT, how apropos that they'd be using a model here, because later on, AMT would be the one that helped design the Klingon ship and make the model for the show, as long as they, of course, had the right.
Yeah, that's the key thing. They have to have the rights for it.
Mm-hmm. Now look at that.
But thank you for finding this, Tim. I'll keep that up there, but I'm gonna minimize it. But I don't like the viewing screen looking like that, as opposed to what it looks like on the bridge.
Mm-hmm. Well, that I think is the one that the cages viewing screen.
Yeah, it is. But I'm just saying, I like that version of the view screen better.
Oh yeah, I do too. There's something nice about it.
It's clean.
Yeah, nice lines.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that noticing on this one, there's a lot more background characters in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we don't like Nigel.
But Spock is right with the Enterprise being in the condition it's in. You shouldn't put it into a battle situation. Yep, Star Trek Online.
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's how they should do it, Tim. A mix of the practical model with the CGI.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's even a YouTube channel where a guy has taken models and he's
Oh yeah,
actually filmed them like they used to.
it looked beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Look at
And
that
that
look
was
on
one.
Spock.
Mm-hmm. And the annoying eyebrow raise.
Mm-hmm. And see, that's how Spock should emote. Not, screaming, yelling, and hollering, an eyebrow raise, or just a simple look.
Mm-hmm. Which is important having him a Commodore because that puts him
Mm-hmm.
in a flag rank. Spock is 100% right.
He is. He's very logical.
You may leave the bridge. And now Deckard's going to go full Ahab.
Mm-hmm. He wants us well. And that's what the Doomsday Machine is.
Mm-hmm. He's obsessed to avenge his crew and stop the ship from getting to the next system.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the Doomsday Machine is his Moby Dick.
No, yeah, he's sizing up the crew. Boy, I wish I was that guy down there helping out the communications officer. But he outranks Kirk too as the Commodore and such, so
mm-hmm.
it kind of leaves him at his mercy. And he really honest, I love how he's chewing on the disk drive. I like to think
Yeah.
of it as those 3.5 disk drives.
I mean, really, you're watching this episode. How are you supposed to know that 20 years later there would be floppy disk drives like that?
Mm-hmm. All those toys he has.
Yep, all the tools he needs to try to get something working. Mm-hmm. I've always liked that. Kirk telling him to, you do your job, I'll do my job,
Yep.
and together we'll get it working.
And of course, keeping Kirk separated from the Enterprise too is just as
Mm-hmm.
important in the story.
I've always liked that, where Spock says something that Scotty would have said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not a sight you want to see
Nope.
at all.
Especially as it's getting closer to the Enterprise.
Mm-hmm. Get off UHF when you get to the main channels.
And Kirk doesn't like what he sees.
Oh, hell no.
True. And that Captain Ahab mentality.
Yep.
Spock makes a recommendation, and Ahab, no, he's got to get that will.
Mm-hmm. Not a happy Kirk. I don't blame him.
Not a happy Kirk because he doesn't like what he sees. He doesn't like the
Mhm.
fact that Decker is putting his crew, Kirk's crew, in danger. His ship in danger.
You know,
Rank be damned.
yep. And the lighting is so interesting in this episode too, especially when you get the close-ups.
Mm-hmm.
How, like the face is shaded some, but the eyes are highlighted and such. It leads to an old school film, you know, back, back in the 40s, 50s, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Buck's not messing around.
Yeah, well, Decker wanted to play hardball.
Mm-hmm.
See, there's no way those idiots could ever do an
No,
episode like this.
current Star Trek doesn't want to do an episode like this.
No. It's
We've
like,
seen
what
proof
about
when they want Klingons to be seen.
hmm what but what about the Doomsday Machine's feelings about this? And did you misgender it? I mean, this is
No,
hardcore.
this was a device built to destroy.
hmm Sounds like my car starting in the wintertime.
It's like you try cranking it a few times, pumping the gas pedal,
Cussing.
and come on,
Again.
baby, turn over.
Come on, Scotty, you can do it.
Well, if anyone can do it, it's Scotty.
Yep.
And
He
of
wants it.
course, the Enterprise engines are straining.
Yep. Because he got a hungry Doomsday Machine.
Mm-hmm.
I love
It,
the dry humor.
mm-hmm.
It's believable.
It is. I mean, it's believable because these two have worked together for so long that they would have that kind of chemistry together.
Right. Okay, now I got
That
its
dry
attention.
wit.
What do I do? Let's confuse the thing. There we go. Almost sounds like out of Star Trek 2.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can understand why it would also be referenced in Star Trek 2 with the damage that the Enterprise takes in that movie,
Yep.
because unlike those in charge of current Star Trek, R. Bennett and Nicholas Meyer actually went back through all 79 episodes.
Mm-hmm. How to piss off Kirk here.
Mm-hmm. Kirk doesn't care, not when it comes to the Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
Senior officer or not, you're putting his ship and crew in danger.
Yeah. He wants to talk to somebody who knows the ship situation more.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you, Varen, what would you do in that situation? You hear Kirk giving an order. He may not be on board, but he's giving
Mm-hmm.
you an order. Do you follow Decker's order or do you follow Kirk's order?
I think I'd go with Kirk.
He is your commanding officer, after all.
Right. Don't, yeah. Don't play poker with Spock.
No, you're going to lose every time.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Elizabeth Rogers, who plays Palmer, she did made another appearance after this in Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was The Way to Eden.
Yep.
Space hippies.
Getting the job done.
Yep. No effing around.
Of course, you've got to have that fight.
Yep. And they have to do Trek Fu.
Mm-hmm.
Now that wasn't nice.
Not nice at all, but you know, Decker, he's a man on a mission. He's a
Yep.
man
Yeah.
possessed.
He's upset. Yeah. Possessed and obsessed.
And of course, well, let's face it, Baron, that coming up here is something that's become a Star Trek trope where somebody steals a shuttlecraft.
Yep. Which really didn't happen much in Star Trek back then.
No. But then, of course, you have it happen in Next Generation. You have it
Oh
happen on
yeah.
Voyager.
Mm-hmm. Over and
I mean,
over
I
and
mean, I mean,
over.
yeah, they would also take the runabouts too
Mm-hmm.
on DS9.
It's always quite a sight to see.
Yeah, to see the shuttle bay and a shuttle getting ready to take off, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a trope too. Close the shuttle bay doors. We can't do it. Someone is already rid of the controls.
Mm-hmm.
Security needs to go back to training the commander with him too easily. Yeah, they do. They need to go back to basic training.
Again, a very special effects heavy episode.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But again, Decker's not going to listen.
Mm-hmm. I love that little shuttlecraft.
I mean, I thought it was always a nice little tribute, especially when you see it in the director's cut where they have an original series shuttlecraft in there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Are you starting to rethink your decision now, Matt?
Mm-hmm. He is. But he's at the point of no return. There's no turning back.
Like father, like son, both hit by machine.
Mm-hmm. See, Spock's not completely cold blooded.
Nope. What? Now, just a little FYI,
Mm-hmm.
the officer that got himself his butt kicked
Yeah.
on there, sorry, no, my correction, not but Washburn, the science officer on board the Constellation.
Yeah.
That was Richard Compton, and he directed many episodes of TV shows like The X-Files, Charmed, Slider, Miami Vice, and Babylon 5.
Looking at it, I was also wondering. I didn't have time to look it up, but I was also wondering if maybe occasionally if he stood in for DeForest Kelly.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Coming up with a plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kirk's not suicidal.
Kirk has a plan,
Mm-hmm.
and as far as he's concerned, that plan's going to go through.
Oops.
See, each person of the Enterprise knows their duty.
Right.
And you're seeing that here. Scotty did his part, now Kirk's doing his part. Spock did his part aboard the Enterprise, Sulu did his part. Everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The infamous Jeffrey's tube. Oops, something's going wrong in there.
Mm-hmm.
I always found those Jeffrey tubes interesting and fascinating
Yeah.
when I was watching.
Yeah, where he climbs up into it. Unlike
Yeah.
in Next Generation, where they crawl into the Jeffries tube.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the first time we see the Jeffries tube in the original series.
Nope. You're not going to make it to 94 that way, Kirk.
No, he's not. But he's going to try to wait till the last possible moment.
Yep. Playing space chicken.
Well, remember, Kirk doesn't like to lose. And he's going to
No.
make sure he doesn't lose.
Pop.
Hey,
Mm-hmm. Kirk's trying to remain calm.
yep. I mean, he's got to set an example.
And of course, it shows that the first run of AMT Star Trek Enterprise models weren't not as detailed as the ones that came later.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you see it right there.
Yep, the clam doors are smooth. The caps of the nacelles have nothing. Hmm. And of course, no nacelles. Interpulse.
No, not at all. Of course, they do fix that in the remaster version.
Yeah. And I love how it just goes like dead.
Mm-hmm. Because of the detonation.
Mm-hmm. No color, no nothing, just like a husk. You can hear the creaking of the set.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even the first season of Next Generation, you hear the creaking of the set as they're walking.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they left it right open for Voyager to
Oh,
have their encounter with the Doomsday machine.
even Next Generation. I mean, if they wanted to
Mm-hmm.
go a little before that, the fans of Star Trek game played with it, and of course, Star Trek Online, obviously, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Gino Kuhn, man who was very important in
Very important
Gene
in
Ficklin.
the development of the original series, especially after Gene Roddenberry left.
Yep, and Justman too, who was listed
Mm-hmm.
there. Oh, I want to hear the theme. Oh, script
I'm not
consultant,
cutting it
PC.
off. I'm not cutting it off.
Oh, okay. Because I hate what they did with the remaster of the theme. It's just like, ugh.
All they had to do was take what's here and just put it in. That's all they had to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's playing.
Patton.
Oh, Patton.
Yep.
You know that'd be a good movie for a future watch party. But that's not
Mm,
what we're
not
watching
now.
tonight, folks.
No, we're not watching it tonight.
All right. So, Baron, what are your thoughts on the Doomsday Machine? We just finished it up, and
After all this time, still, about 50 years, not quite 50 years, but close to 50 years, this episode really does hold up. I mean, when back for the 25th anniversary of Star Trek, it was voted as the number four best Star Trek. Of course, they were only going by the original series at that time because there wasn't really much more to go off of, right? Except for the animated, and they weren't really giving the animated much love. Only ones that were beating it out, of course, were your typical, Trouble Tribbles and City on the Edge of Forever, of fun stuff like that. And the Hollywood Reporter back in 2016 calling it the 48th best television episode of all the Star Treks uh, prior to
that
Discovery.
says something in
Mhm.
itself.
Yeah. Of course, they shouldn't be counting anything from Kurzman Trek in there because none of that stuff's good. Um, and and of course, William Wyndon is the fourth best guest star in the series. They rated at one time. So,
And folks, don't feel sorry for Matt Decker. He becomes a marketing exec in the year 1989 over the Thanksgiving holiday, looking over some proposals made by Steve Martin. And for those of you who may be going, what is Mike going on about? William Wyndham is actually the executive in Planes, Trains, and Automobile that you see.
Exactly. And yeah, a very capable actor, obviously. We see him on there. I mean, just to get an idea, what Wyndham did, we'll just kind of hit with some of the television. I mean, he was in Combat, the FBI, 12 O'Clock High, Mission Impossible, of course, Star Trek, The Invaders, Mannix, which was a big show when it came out, Hawaii Five-0, Batgirl. I mean, he was busy canon. I mean, a lot of these shows were all in 1 year. So he was constantly working in 1 year with Marcus Welby, Night Gallery, The Streets of San Francisco. I mean, he was a busy boy. And, Simon and Simon, Automan, if anybody remembers that, Airwolf, Knight Rider, Magnum PI. It's just amazing all the stuff he was in for television, and that's not including his movie career that he had. Children of the Corn 4, if you really want to call that, whatever. But To Kill a Mockingbird, he was in there. That was his first film. So yeah, this is a very quality actor. Left us in 2012 at the age of 88. And yeah, it's it's just great to have seen him, that he was part of Star Trek as well in such a powerful episode. This really is a great episode. I mean, in some ways, they were saying about how you had Kirk versus computer episodes, right? And there was a lot of those in the original series. You had the Apple, you had the Return of the Archons, you had the Ultimate Computer, and in a sense, you could kind of say a little bit of this too. This was a Kirk versus a computer in the sense this is a robot ship. So this is all part of that entire Kirk versus technology, but yet not demonizing technology. It's still saying we need to have that human factor.
We need to have that human touch.
Right. I mean, back when Dan Quayle was sent back saying he didn't think space should be, people shouldn't be going into space no more because of the space shuttle accident, and it's too dangerous for men to do that, and it should be all probes from now on. And it's like, you just don't get the point. Just like the sailors of old and such. Yeah, it is dangerous, but we want to know what's over there.
Well, I mean,
what's over the horizon.
Think about the movie that we watched yesterday on Pop Talk, Top Gun. Right. Where is even told, you're a dying breed. Sooner or later, there's going to be no need for a human being inside an aircraft.
And respectfully, they're wrong, because a computer is good for supplementing the human, but do you really want to trust everything to a computer in these things? Do you want to trust it to an AI? I don't either. I mean, humans themselves are what shall we say, a bit wonky sometimes. Now a computer, forget that. And it's episodes like this that kind of reminds us of what would happen to an AI system when its quote unquote creators are not around, or they give the the cutoff, say stop, quit doing what you're doing. And Star Trek: The Original Series really did a great job dealing with that, and the enslavement of humanity in some cases,
Mm-hmm.
with Landru, or
Reflecting on the Vietnam War.
mm-hmm. And of course, this one about the Doomsday. Every society, did you know? Did you know that the crossbow was considered at one time a doomsday machine, and they honestly thought that that would be the end of the world because no one had killed anybody faster. I mean, just average. And yeah, I mean, every generation has that doomsday machine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, thank goodness people really haven't pulled the trigger yet, and let's hope they never will. But there's always going to be a new one. What's going to be the next doomsday machine? Just like they have the what they call, uh, I'm trying to remember what the fail-safe system basically keeps on sending the signal out, and the signal goes out, and it's basically tells the missiles automatically fire because there's no one left, and they want to do scorched earth. Um, and you really want to trust that too.
Yep.
That can get you. That can
Well,
get
I
you.
mean, think back to all the hoopla surrounding Y2K when it came to
Oh,
computers.
mm-hmm.
You could consider that a doomsday machine too, because they were saying, "Oh no, when it hits the new year, we're all doomed," because that's how they were
Yeah,
pushing it.
right. I didn't fall for it, but
No.
it's like ho hum. You know what? I think I might have said it before, but you know what I did on New Year's Eve, 1999, going into 2000? I was in bed with the long suffering, nothing, no hanky panky. We're just laying there. I had Art Bell on the radio, and of course we had windows looking out, and I always like looking out the windows at night. Watch the planes coming in.
Mhm.
And we're listening, and it's like Art Bell's doing his Y2K, okay, we're going into the New Year's here in the East Coast. And people, please call in if and just listening to the whole thing, just amused. And it's like then they came to midnight our time, and it's like, yeah, we're here, and we're still here. Time for bed.
Yep. Yep.
you
A-
know,
And it was just a complete joke. It's like, no, we're gonna be fine. Calm down,
yeah.
everybody. Calm down. And Tree
Mhm.
Rock was saying he remembers Automan.
Oh yeah. That was a fun show. They turned into the
And,
Terminator. Yeah.
yes, they do. And it's good to see Shane, also known as your Ron. He will be joining me for episode 7 of the Adventure Continues, a Star Trek discussion, coming up
Mhm.
on Saturday, July. Let me just double check the date so I don't give the wrong date. July 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we will be going over the episode from the original series, third season, That Which Survives.
Ah, that which survives. Ooh.
And yeah, our our investment into artificial intelligence will it doom us like Terminator has foreshadowed, or will we be lucky?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess being my age here, 56 years old and such, and going through the Cold War, and constantly being told, oh, things are, no, we're going to die, we're going to die, and every time turning around, it's like always hearing doom and gloom. I guess I'm kind of desensitized to it. I really am. And in some ways, this episode is one of them. It's like, yeah, someone's always going to make a bigger bomb,
Mm-hmm.
and we've survived this. We survived how many doomsday machines? Uh, what will be the next one? It's. I'm not trying to be Pollyannish or just dismiss, but you get tired of it.
Yeah, you get tired of it, and this is the way I look at it, Barrett.
Mhm.
We all have an end at some point. We have a
Right,
beginning and we have an end, and
right.
that dash in the middle, that's our life.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, all our lives are going to end.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. And I, every time we had problems in the Middle East, whether it was Gulf War One, Gulf War Two, it was always, oh, this is it. This is the end times. This is it. This is the end times. Or, what other little thing across? It's the first thing is this is it. This is it. This is it. It's over. It's just like the YouTubers out there. That's why I find so much humor out of all these ones that these YouTubers go. It's over. It's over, because it just kind of reminds me of that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they talk about Doomsday Machine and Star Trek, the thing is there's still human hope. They're still around in the 23rd century. Mm-hmm. And I hope we are, unless, of course, God says, hey, horsemen, go. Blow that trumpet. It's time. Whatever. That's not in my control. But that we have a 23rd century. I believe it's going to be more Babylon 5 than Star Trek, but still, both are hopeful futures because we're still around.
We're still around, and at least on Earth, we're getting along with one another. I mean, heck, in Babylon 5, they had a section for all people of all different faiths to worship. And J. Michael Straczynski was an atheist.
Yep. Exactly. So, again, even though this episode is holding such a serious, obviously it's a serious topic because at that time, the Cold War. We were just off of the Cuban Missile Crisis. We had Vietnam going on. But just like anything with Star Trek, you had the warnings are pointing out these things, but you still have hope. The Enterprise made it through. People are still around in the 23rd century. Rigel's still around, didn't get eaten up.
Nope.
It still has that positive. And it just reminds us that we have danger in our lives no matter what, whether, personal, local, countrywide, worldwide, it doesn't matter. But somehow humans always persevere. Every time there was doom and gloom, humans still persevered. For how many thousands of years? Yeah, certainly there are times that weren't better than others, but we still persevered. We made it here. And that's what Star Trek is.
Yeah. And, Lady Miss, there are times you just got to tell it like it is.
Right.
You can't beat around the bush.
Mm-hmm. Which this episode was. This one wasn't beating around the bush. It, definitely had the allegories to the H-bomb. Hiroshima, Nagasaki. And even then, Japan still perseveres.
Mm-hmm.
They had a meltdown.
Japan has thrived.
Yeah. More than thrived. My word.
They've prospered.
Look at the Korean Peninsula. Half of it is thriving and alive.
Mm-hmm.
After 50 to 53. Look at Germany today. It thrives after the little 12 years of messed up, we shall say. Nothing happened here. Or even World War One. We still survived and we are still thriving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to be warned, but it's also remember that we as human beings are not as weak as they want to try to point us out to be. We are a lot stronger than that.
We're vigilant.
Right. And, whether there is a God or not, whether there is alien life out there or not, right? They want to sit back and say how insignificant we are. You're just one person in this big insignificant. You're insignificant to all this. No. You're unique. You're an individual. You're special. There's no one like you on this earth. Or maybe in this case, the universe, right? should not have that overwhelmed. Just sit back and say, yes,
Yeah.
we are special. Each
We're special
individual.
because there's only one Lady Miss, there's only one Pat of Wannabe, one DJ Ronnie G,
Mm-hmm.
one Baron Orman Tag, one Tree Rock Creations, one FKHC 2005, also known as Tim.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's the amazing thing. And that's one of the things with Star Trek. Each one is individuals on there. And that's what you always remember. We're not insignificant. Yeah, we live in a big place, but just because we live in a big hall does not mean that we're nothing. And we should always remember that and not be torn down by that. And that's the great thing about Star Trek, especially this episode, right? Mm-hmm. This thing came from outside the galaxy, according to the log, or the course that they followed, right? So even something that came out of the galaxy that was causing all this issue, we were able to rise up, or they were able to rise up and stop.
Mm-hmm.
And
because everybody contributed their
right.
various skills to trying to keep the Enterprise safe,
mm-hmm.
but also getting the Constellation up and moving, considering how badly damaged it was.
Right. Exactly. Everyone had a place. Again, this is not what we're getting with Star Trek today at all. They utterly failed because in many ways, even though this is dealing with a planet killer, it's one of the most hopeful episodes of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
We just battled a Doomsday machine, and we won. I mean, this episode,
we were able to survive. The Enterprise brings back the information that it recorded from its sensors to Starfleet. Starfleet will study that information for years.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, they got the Hulk out there too. I mean,
mm-hmm. It's just too bad we never got a proper follow-up.
Oh,
because this episode sets it up.
Right. I mean, STO tried. I mean, and I thought they did a pretty good job trying to bring it alive for us, the fans, to be able to be in that scenario. But then you had Peter David with what he did with Vendetta, and expanding a little bit more on the Doomsday machine. It's definitely, and of course, Phasa Games, role-playing game, them bringing the Doomsday machine back. Oh, and let's not forget Starfleet Battles. Starfleet Battles tabletop game. They had the Doomsday machine in there for you to play around with. So, I mean, it's a very, it really impressed a lot of people, impressed on their minds. But yeah, it would have been great to see some sort of follow-up. Especially if you're dealing with like 100 years later or whatnot. But the one thing I'm afraid of is hearing that, Strange New Worlds, we're going to do a Doomsday Machine episode. Shoot me now. No, figuratively, YouTube.
That's not what we're asking for.
No.
But, I think it would have been nice to see Voyager possibly encounter a Doomsday Machine. It would be interesting to see what a ship like the Defiant would do against something like that.
Yeah. I mean, she's a Borg killer, so what can she do against a Doomsday machine?
Mm-hmm.
And really, Tim, you think about it, yeah. I mean, if you went through what he did, in that whole matter, that would break any man. What would have done to Kirk? I mean, I don't know if anyone walked away from this episode thinking that, but what if it was reversed and Decker came across Kirk and he beamed everybody down to a planet and they all got killed and the Enterprise is all smashed up?
It would have devastated Kirk.
Right. Would Kirk be like Decker? Would it be worse? I mean, Well, yeah, he was on a mission to kill a machine, but it was out of obsession. He went crazy. He went obsessed, and he was going after that. He wanted to, like we said, Ahab. But how would Kirk be? Would he have tried to do that?
And we know you don't mean it in the mean way, Tim. The way
No,
you mean it is you try to put yourself in the character's shoes. He
right.
beams his crew, 400 personnel, down to a planet, hoping that they would be safe,
Mm-hmm.
while he stayed on board the ship to try to take care of this machine. That plan backfired in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
He lost his crew, lost the planet. That solar system is down to 2 planets.
Mm-hmm.
And what would
Yeah.
you do?
Oh,
You
I would have
saw
gone.
you saw him when Kirk and Bones and everybody found him in the auxiliary control. He blamed himself in this episode, Matt Decker did,
Oh
for the
yeah.
loss of his crew and for the state of his ship. His ship, as Kirk said, it was a dead Hulk.
Mm-hmm. And I think Kirk would be just like Decker, maybe even worse, because again, it's like, you have this sense of not just failure, but I mean, real failure. You let everybody down.
Mm-hmm.
Even though really he didn't. You're trying to do the best calls possible with this thing, but everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Everything went wrong because you didn't know what you're up against. Even your sensor data wasn't complete.
Nope.
Because you didn't have a full understanding of what this thing was capable of until it started attacking your ship, depleting its resources, and leaving you one last choice to try to save your crew.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go down with the ship, but you're all going down here to stay alive. But
Right.
again, like I said, it backfires tremendously.
Right. Then he has to hear his crew dying.
Mm-hmm.
They were begging
Hearing
me.
the screams. Yeah, they were begging me to get them. And he couldn't because the transporters were out.
Mm-hmm. I think that would crack just about any person right there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that of course then turns into obsession, revenge, vengeance. Uh, you know, I want to take this thing out, the bastards.
Mm-hmm. So he gets this opportunity to try to take the Doomsday Machine out as soon as he's on board the Enterprise in that captain's seat.
Mm-hmm.
And he becomes Captain Ahab going after his white whale.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously Decker was a very good captain. I mean, he's a commodore in charge of a ship, so he was obviously a very capable captain out there. You would have to be on board, this class of starship. Uh, but there's always a breaking point to somebody, and I think Kirk would have had a breaking point too. I think
Mhm.
Spock would have.
Yeah. Behind all that Vulcan exterior, I think Spock would have broken down. If something had happened to Kirk, something had
Mm-hmm.
happened to Bones, or anyone on the Enterprise.
Plus, he's also half human, so
Mm-hmm.
that factor has to be added in. Overall, this is an excellent episode, and this is what we're hungry. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but this is what I'm hungry for Star Trek. This is what I want to see.
More episodes in the vein of the Doomsday Machine.
Mm-hmm.
More
Well,
episodes in the vein of good Star Trek. Let's face it,
right.
Darren. We're all
Oh yeah,
looking for good Star Trek. Star Trek that shows that the characters are capable of being more than just a one-trick pony. There are
right.
layers to these characters.
Right. If I want a more humor-based episode, I want I Mud or Trouble with Tribbles, not whatever crap they're trying to pull off with Kurtzman garbage. Um, if I want to have something that's more horrifying or scary, I mean, you have Cat's Paw and a few others like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Cat's Paw wasn't one of the better episodes, but still, it's memorable. If I want something that be more action orientated and such, well, again, this episode, the Ultimate Computer, again, it's dealing with some heavy subjects, but there's more behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Than the other stuff. everything that's around it. So this is, you get the taste of the original Star Trek, and I know they wanted to do, the great experiment that I don't think really uh, did well for them. Let's redo all these episodes of Star Trek with new special effects to try to bring in the younger crowd. I don't think it did a good job for it. I don't think it did anything for it because they don't care because uh, they've been basically bred on watered down pablum of crap, and they still don't look down their nose at the original Star Trek or probably
They do.
even Next Generation and such. So it doesn't matter if you did an update with special effects and stuff or not. That's why it's nice to see this episode the way it should be. Um, and it comes down to this: you all you just want is the eye candy and sit around and pat yourself on the back or do seal claps, saying, "Look at me, I'm a Star Trek fan! Yay! Fight bright shiny things, flashing." Instead of the fact that, okay, what's the story? Well, I don't like that topic. You guys are such, and down the line. I mean,
Because
look how they deep.
what has this episode made any of us do? We've already talked about it, but what this episode has made us all do is think. We've thought about, well, what about Spock? What about Kirk if they were
Mhm.
in Decker's situation? How would they react?
Mhm. Yeah, all across
And
the
that's what
board.
Star Trek is all about, making one think.
Unlike that hack Jason Isaac who says back in, when he was on Discovery, if you don't like, if you don't agree with us, we don't want you watching. Fine, I ain't gonna watch your crap. You just broke the cardinal rule of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. I tried. I tried with New Trek.
Well, you're a better man than me. Yeah, you're a better man than me. I did no.
I wanted to give it a chance, and yeah, part of it was because I still had a craving for Star Trek. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I still do if I'm obviously doing this, but I was trying to give Kurt Trek a chance,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't meet my expectations. It didn't
It
make me
doesn't.
go, yeah, this is making me think. Like in the pale moonlight, DS9 makes you think. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Measure of Man, Next Generation makes you think. You know,
Mm-hmm. Does
that's
it
what
make you
Star
feel
Trek.
uncomfortable?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's sometimes when it should make you feel uncomfortable. Going, ooh, okay. Now, what about this situation? How is it? Would we do that? Or, ooh, that's a hard decision. You
Mm-hmm.
talk it out. You know, and I'm not saying that the Kurtzman trick is a garbage skull. I'm just saying it should be hauled away as garbage.
Ah, yes, Trouble with Tribbles. Although
Now,
that will be pretty fun when we do have Trouble with Tribbles at some point on this show.
mhm.
And then the next show, this is how I would like to do it, whether it comes out this way. But the next show, we show more Troubles from the animated series.
Mhm.
And because that's a half-hour episode, I think would probably add Deep Space Nine's Trials and Tribulations.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely. Because that was, if you really wanted to see a wonderful homage to the original series, that did such a good job.
it did. The fact that they reconstructed the corridors from the original
Hmm.
show, so
Hmm.
we could see our heroes on DS9 walking through those corridors in recreations of the original series uniforms, and the way they were able to blend,
Hmm.
you know, Deep Space Nine's images with the original series,
Yeah,
This
that's
is
the
back in
important part.
'96,
Mhm.
almost 30 years ago,
Right.
and it still looks good.
Yeah, I mean they recreated the model for the K7,
And the
recreated models in
Enterprise.
it, and the Klingon battle cruiser.
Hmm.
I think Doug Drexler has those. All right. Well, maybe not. I thought Doug Drexler might have 'em. I know I saw him with those in a storage unit. So, but yeah, what a no. Yeah, this is what Star Trek is about.
Hmm.
Oh, the animated series, Lady Mist. More
Yeah,
troubles, more troubles, more troubles.
yeah. See, I generally want to keep the Adventure Continues to 2 hours for any live stream. Exceptions being for episodes that are originally 2-hour episodes, or if it's one of the movies. Now, when it comes to the animated series, because they're only let's say not even 30 minutes, because these episodes don't have commercials, but
Right.
you go through them because they're so short. I've been thinking, well, maybe when it comes to an animated series episode, two animated series episodes to cover that time span, or in this case, with more troubles from the animated series, this would actually extend the show a little bit because you have a follow-up episode to not just the trouble with tribbles, but also to more troubles with trials and tribulations from Deep Space Nine.
Mhm. Exactly. Giant triples. And let's
Hmm.
not forget the Great Triple War.
Yeah, but this is why you should still watch Star Trek and try to understand Star Trek when it comes to episodes like the Doomsday Machine. When you see characters put in a situation and they know it's a life-threatening situation, and the way they work it out,
Mhm.
they don't
Uh,
start screaming and hollering. They're
mhm.
professional about it.
Except for a minor couple episodes of the original series, um, this is truly timeless. This series, because it wasn't topical. It might have seemed at the time, but the thing is, when you're dealing with human nature, which they were, uh, that's eternal, right? The base nature of humanity, and that's what they're looking at. Just when the reason why, in many ways, the Twilight Zone is still relevant today, except for maybe a couple topical type episodes, and that that is something that has been missed with of course the Kurzman Trek, our track, I should say, because that's all they are is topical. This show was written with the orthodox English, you might say. In other words, you'll understand what they're saying 100 years from now
Hmm.
because it's
It
European
doesn't date
cinema,
itself.
right? It's not using modern day slang and stuff. And when they did throw slang in there, it was either copying the slang of the 20s in piece of the action, or
Hmm.
the way to eat and the kind of their made up hippie slang that they had going on, where you didn't understand what you're saying. But the funny thing was, the Kirk and gang didn't know what they were saying. We were all in on the joke,
Hmm.
and of course that helps to follow through. It's like, what the hell are they saying? Right? It still wasn't topical. It wasn't using the slang of the hippies of that day. Um, so they not relegating to the fact that, hey, we said the F bomb, we said the S bomb. Oh wow, look how great and mighty we are. We've said the F bomb, yay! It's like, okay, take the straw out of your head that you were trying to suck out whatever gray matter was in there, and go in the corner, lick a window. I don't care. You guys are idiots. That's not what Star Trek doing first is all about,
No.
and that's what we've come to, and that's what's disgusting. A first is tackling something and making you think about it.
The first interracial kiss that was groundbreaking back in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
You had the first on-screen kiss between two women on Deep Space Nine in the 90s. That was groundbreaking back then.
And hot. Well, let's not leave out the original series. I mean, you had a black Commodore
Mm-hmm.
that Kirk was reporting to, and having to go through trial, with court martial. You had, in the Ultimate Computer, Daystrom, a black man who's
Mm-hmm.
a complete genius, This man knows everything. Yeah, he did break down, but it goes to the fact that we all kind of know when people get too smart, doesn't matter what color their skin, there's always some little screw loose somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Elon. But I mean, here you're dealing with people of great intellect. You have people who are in position of power. You even have a highly regarded doctor with Mabinga and on board the Enterprise. And not only that, but xenobiology, particularly Vulcans.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, right there, that's groundbreaking. That's groundbreaking. But just because you have Sheila or Shell or whatever her name is being the president of Earth, failed politician here, I'm bringing her out for some sort of platitudes and electioneering. It's like that's not being a first, and that's not Star Trek.
No. Yes, Star Trek has had people from political backgrounds on their various shows before.
Mm-hmm. But not blatant like that. One of the most prominent though was Melvin Belli, even though he was a lawyer, not necessarily a politician. And the children shall lead. But I mean, you had in the background astronauts on Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
A transporter chief. So I mean, it wasn't dog and ponying show them out there. They just want to have. I just want to be on the show so I can be on the show. Just put me in the background. I don't care. I'm happy.
Mm-hmm. I
And
dress me up as a Klingon, a Romulan, Cardassian. Let me have a Starfleet uniform on. And
yeah, John Tesh as one of the tall Klingons they've had, and you really didn't know it. Just a quick little scene where he's zapping Worf with a pain stick. Mick Fleetwood is a fish ambassador, where he actually shaved his beard off so they could put the prosthetics on. Of course, it was supposed to be Robin Williams, but it went to Joe Piscopo in doing the was it that one, or was it later on with Matt Fuhrer with the?
It was Matt Fuhrer.
Matt Fuhrer one, the Matt Fuhrer one. That was going to be Rob Williams.
The Matt Fuhrer episode where they originally wanted Robin Williams to be in the role, but they couldn't work it out with his schedule.
Right, exactly. Or he would have been on Next Generation. Imagine that. But getting Matt Fuhrer, that's that was pretty good, especially at that time. Max Edrum. Hey, Max.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of look through some of the guest stars that they've had, even in a small capacity.
Yeah, Virginia Madison was on an episode of Star Trek Voyager. Michael Madison's sister.
And of course, Dune and Electric Dreams, all that fun stuff. So, I mean, when you're gonna break, of course, Eddie Murphy almost made it in this Star Trek, but there were issues. That was going to be on Star Trek 4.
Well, it's the same for Star Trek 5. They wanted Sean Connery.
Yeah.
But because he was filming Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, he couldn't do it. But they still put him in there in a way by calling Shockery.
Actually, he was given. Actually, he was given the choice: Indiana Jones or Star Trek 5. He said, "I don't understand a bloody word of this stuff of Star Trek." So he went over to Indiana Jones. Typical Sean Connery.
And you know what? I think that was a smart move because we enjoy his role as Henry Jones Sr. in The Last Crusade.
Yeah, he would have been wasted in Star Trek Five. He would have been, and
It would have had to have been a completely different story. I could see him as maybe a high-ranking Starfleet official.
mhm.
Listen,
I'm.
Kirk.
Mhm. It would have been such a waste having him in there.
Yeah, wasting his talent.
Right. It'd be like him doing Highlander 2 again,
Yeah.
Which actually he did Highlander 2 after that. But that's beside the point. Um, but no, I mean that's the sad state of where we're at. The trendies out there, how they destroyed Star Trek, and at least we have enough people here that still love it and want to keep it
Hmm.
alive.
Yeah.
No,
And I do want to acknowledge Lady Miss's comment here. I know I've had it up there for a while now,
oh yeah,
but she says that she hasn't watched the animated shows. I think you're in for a treat.
they can be pretty trippy. They can be really trippy. And why? Because they're trying to push the boundaries of science fiction, and they're able to do so even more with it being an animated show. They weren't restricted by a budget where, some of the designs they came up with would have been impossible to do with the
Hmm.
original series. So you got definitely more uh, flavor of a universe, design wise, with cities, planets, aliens, even ships. And
And it
that
also doesn't hurt that you had some people who worked on the live action shows working on the animated series.
Oh yeah, I mean DC Fontana, David Gerald, even Walter Koenig, in a writing capacity. So, yeah, I mean, basically they were treating this as a Star Trek series.
And
They
I've
weren't going to
always
goof
looked
around.
at the 2 seasons that you get of the animated series. Now, granted, it's only 22 episodes in total for both seasons, but I always looked at them as season 4 and season 5 for the original series. I
Hmm.
know not everybody looks at it that way. Gene Roddenberry would flip flop on that subject, but
Oh, back and forth, back and forth. And before he died, he did say it was official. So, but he was all over the place on that one. And it's like, come on, Gene. I don't care what you say. It's official to me.
Mhm.
Especially,
when you have the majority of the original cast voicing their characters and other characters,
mhm,
it's official.
yeah. I mean, Lieutenant Eric's on there, a three-armed alien, three-armed, three-legged alien. I mean, you wouldn't be able to get away with that with the original series. But he was basically Chekhov, and was Jimmy Doohan doing the voice for him. Then you
Hmm.
had Lieutenant Mares, the Cation communication officer, cat-like creature. Again, you couldn't
Major
really have
Barrett.
done that with, and that was Major Barrett doing that. Yeah, you would have been able to do that in the original series. So, I mean, yeah, I only wish those would have gone a little bit like an hour long. It wasn't so rushed, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's like little novellas compared to the novels. So, and they were for the longest time it was hard to see the animated show.
Yeah.
It really was.
The first time I actually ever saw it was on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Mm-hmm. But before that, it was on Nickelodeon. They brought it back on Nickelodeon, and then it made its way to the Sci-Fi Channel. But it was like a long time coming for it to go to Nickelodeon, and then of course Sci-Fi or Sci-Fi, it's what you want to be called now. Um, but it still doesn't get the love it deserves.
No.
They'd
And
rather go with
there
the
are
idiocy of
people
Gutter Decks.
that criticize Filmation's animation for it. Filmation did what they could with what they had.
Filmation never had a huge budget. Never had a huge budget. And this is like 1970 freaking four. You know, 74. Are you going to criticize if you're going to criticize them for that? You're going to criticize the Flintstones, because as you're going along, how many times do you see the same bloody house going by them as they're walking down the street?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they're
That's how these animation companies saved on their budgets, was reusing the same animation so over and over again.
And just like Star
And
Trek,
other series have done it too. The
right?
Jetsons did it. He-Man and the
Mm-hmm.
Masters of the Universe did it.
Mm-hmm.
Transformers did it. G.I. Joe did it. Smurfs
Flash
did it.
Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all because why? Well, you have so many hours you got to put in there, and it's it's you got to have. I mean, even live action Star Trek. I mean, how
Mm-hmm.
often do we see the scene of the Enterprise coming by like this? I
Well,
mean,
we've seen exterior shots where you see the Enterprise coming by like it is in the background for us, where you don't see the Bassard collectors illuminated, and then
mm-hmm,
you see exterior shots where you do see them illuminated.
right. And even with the Next Generation, I mean, how many times do we see an episode? They're all stock shots of the Enterprise, right?
Mhm. All
Uh,
shots of the original filming model, where there
right.
is no 10 forward.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, it should not be criticized at all. It was a brilliant attempt to try to continue the legend.
Hmm.
So,
And of course, after the animated series airs on NBC in 73 and 74, a few short years later, we get Star Trek the Motion Picture. Say what you will about that movie, it's still a good movie because it's still Star Trek.
and it looks beautiful. It does look
Hmm.
beautiful, even before the doing the remasters on there when it was still incomplete film. Uh, it's still a good
Yeah,
looking film,
they were rushing the film reels. It was still
right?
wet
Mm-hmm.
when it was released in theaters. I mean, they were
Right.
having a hell of a time putting that movie together.
Mm-hmm. Which ruined any chance for Roddenberry to do any other Star Treks because how that ship was run, and yeah, which you really can't blame Paramount for. I mean, it was
No.
successful, but it wasn't as successful as they wanted. So that was not the reason necessarily right there. It's just the fact that over budget, uh, running too long to get a film done, and basically an incomplete piece going out to the theaters where it still needed some work on it. Trimming this, trimming that. Uh, special effects, music, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, Gene Roddenberry screwed the pooch on that one
He
as a producer.
he did. But Baron, we are getting close to the end of our
Hmm.
voyage here tonight. But
Yep,
before
and
we
I
do
got
that,
it. I did get messaging about needing ice packs, so it's a perfect way to end.
all right. But before we disembark for the night, is there anything, anyone you want to promote?
Well, hopefully, beyond the Beyond on Thursday. That would be at 6. Usually has it scheduled for 6:10, but between 6 and 6:30, and that's on Jace Fox's 540 Studios. That's with Jace Fox, of course, as the man of the hour, Tower of Power at that station, and of course Prismatics. Hopefully, will be there. Tom, the Techno Sapient Geek, Kilton Kejon, Cash Monet, myself, maybe Hoshi, maybe Woopa Troopa. We don't know, but please join us over there again between 6 and 6:30 Central Daylight Time at Jace Fox's 540 Studio, The Beyond. Other than that, I can't really think of anything more. Now that things have kind of gotten a little more sane, maybe I'll have some more things to say in a little bit, but maybe Wednesday I'll say something more. We don't know. But of course, anything else would be with you. So,
All right, and I'm getting Jace's YouTube link right now, so just give me a second to copy and paste it.
mm, I thought Steam Element had that. Steam Element, you're falling down on the job, Dan. You.
No, I don't have it in there.
I still want to blame Stream Elements. I want to blame them.
So it should be popping up on the YouTube side right now. And there you go, Rumble. And let's not forget about the X side. So I'm
X
putting that
X
in there right now.
X baby.
But Baron, I want to thank you for being a part of tonight's episode of The Adventure Continues, the Star Trek discussion, and especially
Oh,
talking about the Doomsday Machine and why
well, more
people
important.
should watch the original series and watch
Mhm.
Star Trek in general.
Yeah, more importantly, thank you for having me here and talking about one of my favorite subjects, Star Trek. Uh, yeah, it brings back memories and very pleasant ones too. Now it's like, is there a way I can get a FASA role playing game and relive the glory days of Star Trek with somebody? But yeah, we'll see. But again,
And
thank you for having me here.
it's a pleasure having you here as a guest. Of course, you will be back with me Wednesday as co-host of Pacific Forum for Pop Talk. And I know some people who are probably tuning in going, this isn't like Pop Talk. No, the Adventure Continues isn't supposed to be like Pop Talk. It's its own
No,
thing.
right. You don't get wisecracking bear in here.
No,
Or maybe a couple wisecracks, but no, but not through the whole thing.
no, and I might crack a joke here or there, but nowhere near like I would do on Pop Talk because I taking this seriously because I love Star Trek. I still love Star Trek. Still love good Star Trek. I could sit down and watch an episode of any of the series and enjoy it. Now I know you've all heard me talk about Move Along Home, and when we get there, when we get there, I will explain to anyone who hasn't heard it as to why I don't like the episode.
Keep the cussing down. Keep the cussing down.
No, I
I
won't be
know.
cussing.
I'm kidding.
I mean that's even something I try not to do during the show.
I
I
know.
mean we're
Oh
six
no.
episodes in, and
Mhm.
I'm trying not to curse like I would on Pop Talk because again,
Oh,
I want the show to be different than.
oh yeah, exactly. But this is just like when you get fans together. It's like even you're being serious about. There's still some laughs you're gonna have because we love to poke. Sometimes a little fun or point some stuff out and have a kind of a chuckle about it. Especially when something's a little. But deep down though, it's still 100% serious. We're not letting
Mhm.
those moments override it all. But it's still, as a fan, you just can't. You have to. You have to make a comment.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to Move Along Home, I've got to make a comment, and of course, I do want to say hello to MG Miles. I hope you're doing well this evening. But
Well, obviously he's American because he was Canadian. He'd be MG kilometers.
but everybody, I want to thank you all for being with Baron and I tonight as we took a look at the Doomsday Machine. We watched it, of course, and we reacted to it. This is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying doing these particular live streams. And yes, they are bi-weekly, but so far, I think it works best that way.
Yeah, I think so.
And you know what? You mentioned Jace earlier. Well,
Oh no, no,
there he
no,
is.
no! There he is. He doesn't know a bloody thing about Star Trek. What the hell is he? Just kidding, Chase. Just kidding. But serious, watch some Star Trek.
Yeah, Jace, get into some Star Trek, brother. I think you're gonna like it. But it's good to see you, brother. Hope you're feeling well, man.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully you got your tooth taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah. But of course, I do want to thank everybody who was here tonight. Of course, I want to start off with Lady Mist.
The
Thank you for
lovely
being
Miss.
here tonight. Really appreciate it. The Guardian of the Void, as she said tonight, you know, what happens here on Earth doesn't concern her in the
Mhm.
void.
But she will have her dragons eat DJ Ronnie G and then adopt the turtles.
And of course, Tree Recreations, he was here tonight. And this was his response when I let everybody know that we're just pushing it back, rescheduling it for tonight instead of Saturday night. And
Mhm.
honestly, I think that was for the best because, like I told you, I was trying to get into Cosme, and Cosme was giving me one hell of a time to try to log in. It wouldn't log me in Saturday night. So
Mhm.
I had told you what my backup plan was to watch this
Mhm.
episode. we would be
which I
in
was more than happy about.
the main StreamYard here that we're in right now. I would have opened up one of the previous StreamYard studios that we had used for Pop Talk so that everybody could watch the episode.
Mhm.
I had to come up with a contingency plan. Okay.
And
Plan A, it's not working. Well, go to plan B. Plan C would
of
have been
course,
Discord.
yeah, that's what
I'm
we
not
got to do.
joking. I'm not joking.
No,
I'm serious.
no, I know. I know you're not joking. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's a perfectly prominent place to go.
But of course, Tree Rock, Lady Miss, thank you for being here. Tim, thank you for being here. And also thank you for having that link to the original filming model for the Doomsday machine. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, that was a
For,
really clean picture too. I like that.
Mhm. And Pat Wannabe, thank you for being here, brother. Greatly appreciated. I hope the rest of your night goes well. And Tree Rock, I hope the rest of your night goes well at work as well. DJ Ronnie G, thank you for being here, my friend. Always
Turtle
appreciate it.
power.
Fabric Folds, thank you for being here. Always appreciate seeing you. Shane, I'm looking forward to our next episode of The Adventure Continues. Episode 7 of The Adventure Continues, a Star Trek discussion. This man right here, your Rome, will be joining me, and we will be watching and discussing the episode That Which Survives. And then for episode 8, I've already gotten confirmation with my next guest for that one, and that will be Master Paul of Fandomology. And we will be watching and discussing the Corbinite maneuver.
I thought he was going to go with Spock Spring. Oh well, okay. I know it wasn't going to be.
And NG Miles, thank you for being here tonight. Really appreciate it. Jason Fox of 540 Studios, thank you for being here tonight. Again, really appreciate it. And the reason why I post after each and every edition of Pop Talk, sometimes after a game stream, and even after this show, that I thank everybody for being here after the show is because I think it's important to thank your audience for taking time out of their day, even if it's a few minutes, to join the show and participate in the show and be a part of the show. So that is why I always make sure to post something on the YouTube channel and also over on X to thank all of you because it is very much appreciated. Because without all of you, the warp core doesn't go on this starship. But everybody, I will be back Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on both the YouTube and Rumble channels, and I will be playing more Rise of the Ronin. Now, I have been playing some Rise of the Ronin over the weekend, doing a lot of the side missions, trying to level up. But tomorrow, it's all about getting some of the main missions that I've skipped completed. So please tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, again on the YouTube and Rumble channels, and join me as I play Rise of the Ronin. And then Wednesday, Baron and I will be back, and hopefully Cash will be with us for the Wednesday edition of Pop Talk at 6 p.m. Eastern, where we will be talking about a few topics. And one of the main topics, of course, that I mentioned during yesterday's broadcast of Pop Talk is the fact that Bob Iger is getting a 30% raise while a fifth round of layoffs have gone through at Disney. So people are unfortunately losing their jobs while the CEO is giving himself a pay raise.
Well, it's such hard work. He had to do that. It's like, whoo, getting rid of all those people. Oh, I need a raise for that. Oh, it's so hard. Firmly tongue in cheek.
And there won't be any streams on Thursday, but Friday I will be streaming part of season 3 of Marvel Rivals, and then I'll switch over to Maiden Cops after we play Marvel Rivals for a little bit. And Lady Mist is picking up some ham radio signals.
Oh, she is?
Yes. But again, everybody, thank you very much for being here tonight for episode 6 of the Adventure
Wow.
Continues, the Star Trek discussion. Shane, I'm looking forward to our episode coming up on the 19th. And also, channel members, we will have a member stream this coming Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern for all channel members to join. But until then, everybody, remember, when I'm playing a game on this channel, don't ever give up on me in that game, because just when you do, you might miss something. And as far as this show is concerned, may you all live long and prosper.
I like to know how she's doing that. Oh, peace.
True on true, everybody.
Ham radio's on a PC.